Good afternoon, students. Greetings for the day. I, Professor Sonal Agrawal, welcome you all in second year BCom, third semester. As rightly said by someone, that learning is a continuous process because Albert Thompson said that proper learning leads to a better life. So, keeping in mind the situation of nowadays, instead of face-to-face learning, we switch over to e-learning. This is the lecture for the subject Banking, Law and Practice, Paper 1. Okay. Now, in the second year, you have to choose the specialized subject and subsidiary subject. So some of the students may confuse about the subject. Uh, this was my experience के 4 से 5 लेक्चर तक तो बच्चों को ये पता ही नहीं होता कि उन्हें कौन से लेक्चर में बैठना है. Repeatedly they were asking कि मैडम बैंकिंग 1 हमारा है या बैंकिंग 2 हमारा है, दोनों में कौन से लेक्चर में बैठना है. तो just try to make the concept very clear. Okay. Now, if you have chosen banking as a specialized subject, again I am repeating, if you have chosen banking as a specialized subject, then you have to learn the 2 papers in SAM 3, Banking Law and Practice Paper 1, Banking Law and Practice Paper 2. If you have chosen banking just as a subsidiary subject, again, if you have chosen banking as a subsidiary subject, then you have to learn banking law and practice paper 1 only. Means this paper 1 is common for all the students, whether you have chosen banking as a subsidiary subject or whether you have chosen banking as a specialized subject. This banking 1 is common for all. I hope it is clear to you. Okay. Now, the name, you may find that this is the banking subject, but the name of the subject is new for you. In the last year, you have learned banking and insurance. Clear? The name of the subject of banking is banking and insurance in first and second semester. In that portion, we have learned the basic knowledge about the banking and insurance. Clear? In this second year, you have chosen banking as a specialization, so you have to learn about some of the laws, some of the rules and regulation about banking. Okay? The objective of this subject is to make you an expert person in these rules and regulations so you can use the services of banking, the facility of the banking in a better way. Now let's have a look on syllabus. Okay, as you can see in the PPT, this is the syllabus for the subject banking 1. Okay, please be very careful. This syllabus is in force from the June 2018-19. You might not be able to download this syllabus from the VNSU website because there is an old one. The new syllabus is not uploaded in that VNSU website, or just to be very careful when you are downloading the syllabus for banking 1. It is compulsory that you have to check the year. This syllabus is in force from 2018-19, academic year 2018-19. Okay. Now, just see in the PPT slide that your syllabus is bifurcated into the 5 units. That 6 is the practical problem. Okay. And the unit number 1 is the banker and customer. Weightage is 20%. Unit 2 is banker customer special relationship and the weightage is 15%. Unit 3 is negotiable instrument. Weightage for that unit is 20%. The next unit, it should be the fourth one. It is a printing mistake. Third is written here. It should be the fourth one. The fourth unit is electronic banking and IT, information technology in banks. The weightage for this unit is 20%. The next is the payment bank. The weightage is 15%. And the lastly, this is not the unit, huh? This is a practical problem on all the topics and the weightage is 10%. Means in your paper, the 10% should be a practical problem. Here, they are not going to ask you any practical problem. Here, practical problem means the problem you are facing in daily life related to the above units. Yeah, that's why it is not practical problem. Practical problem is no, you are not going to solve any mathematical problem. Now, what is there in your syllabus? Just focus on unit number 1. The name of the unit is banker and customer. With the weightage is 20%, and we have to read the subtopics, which are definition of a banker, what constitute a customer. Means generally the mentality of a customer is that if we are having an account in bank, if we opened an account in bank, then we are the customer of the bank, but this is not so clear. So what are the rules if you want to call yourself as a customer of a bank? We are going to read in this chapter. Okay, next, general relationship means the first and second unit is about the relationship between the banker and customer. In the first unit, we are going to read just the general relationship between the banker and customer. The legal relation of banker and customer we are going to read in unit number 2. Then the duration aspect. This duration aspect is something related with the definition of customer. Then banker as a borrower, a debt by banker versus an originally commercial debt, the law of the limitations of and deposits, cases and position of a banker, and what are the role of a banker as a trustee, an agent, and a value. Okay, now these all are the sub points clear of the topic general relationship. There is a one single topic, that the general relationship between banker and customer, and whatever written here, these all are the subtopics. In chapter number 2, we are going to read the special relationship between banker and customer. Here we have to learn about the banker's lien. You might not be familiar with the word lien. We will go discuss in unit number 2. Then the appropriation of payment, banker's right to set off. Set off right means, suppose if you are having more than one account in bank, then when the banker is having the right to club your both the accounts, we are going to discuss in this chapter. Then bankers right to charge interest and commission. When the banker is having the right to charge the commission or not, we are going to discuss some of the rules and regulation in this chapter. Next, bankers' obligation to maintain the secrecy of customers' account. We are the customer of a bank. Then very important details about our financial term is in the hand of the banker. So of course, this is the obligation of a banker to maintain the secrecy of customers' account. In what circumstances the banker may reveal the information, these rules and regulation we are going to discuss in this chapter. Then last one is the garnishee order. Garnishee order is the order given by court to banker. Now what is it? In what condition the court will issue the order? All these things we are going to discuss in unit number 2. The next subtopic is termination of a relationship between banker and customer. We discussed the general relationship in unit number 1. We discussed the special relationship in unit number 2. Now, what are the rules to terminate the relationship between banker and customer? When the banker don't want to continue the relationship, and when you as a customer don't want to continue the relationship. All these terms and conditions we are going to learn in unit number 2. The next is the negotiable instrument. In this unit, we are going to learn what do you mean by negotiable instrument, what are the characteristics of negotiable instrument. Then we are going to learn about the 3 negotiable instruments, which are check, promissory note, and bill of exchange. And of course, you are very much familiar with the check. You might not be familiar with the promissory note and bill of exchange because these facilities are used by the businessmen, and we all are not the businessmen, but general public is familiar with the word check. So what are the characteristics of this negotiable instrument? We are going to discuss in unit number 3. And this is the small, interesting and IMP chapter because the weightage is 20%. Next, in the unit number 4, electronic banking and IT in banks, we are going to learn about the what do you mean by electronic banking or e-banking, what are the different modes to transfer the funds electronically, what is the electronic clearing system of your instruments. We are going to learn about some of the modes like RTGS, NEFT, IFSC code we are going to learn. You may familiar with the IFSC code, Indian Financial System Code, which is printed on check on the bottom of the check. Then we are going to learn about the internet banking, core banking solution, automated clearing house operated based on the MICR technology. We have discussed about the MICRs as a short note, as a short question in our semester 1 and 2. Both the times we have learned this topic. Then we have to learn the difference between the RTGS and NEFT. This chapter is very practical chapter. Yeah, as we all are familiar with most of the words, because as a customer of a bank, we all are using these types of facilities. We all are using the online e-banking, the transfer of funds via using internet banking. Some of you might not be using, but even though you are familiar with this all the things. Next, fifth and last unit for the syllabus is payment bank. For the payment bank, very popular in you all may be aware about the Paytm. अभी ऐसा कोई भी नहीं होगा आई होप कि यहाँ पे जिसने Paytm वर्ड ना सुना हो. Now what is Paytm? Paytm is the payment bank. तो Paytm तो सबको पता है, but you all are not aware with the terminology, may not be aware with the terminology payment bank. So what do you mean by payment bank? What are the characteristics of the payment bank? As a banker, if you want to perform this function, the what are the ethics you have to follow? And with this, all these things related to the payment bank, we are going to learn in this unit. The next subtopic is banking ombudsman scheme. This is also known as the Lokpal scheme. As a customer, if banker is not ready to listen your problems and to solve your problems, so some higher authority is there where you can register your complaint, and that higher authority is known as the banking ombudsman. The next, what are the how the banking ombudsman appointed and what are the powers of that person, we are going to learn in this chapter. And lastly, the practical problem will be asked in examination for 8 marks. I am repeating again, for 8 marks, two case studies going to ask you. Here means each case study contain 4 marks related to the above all topics. So if you are familiar with the above all topics, if you understood the meaning of at least the meaning of above all the topics, then only you are able to solve the case study. Okay, now just we discussed there are 5 units. Okay, now your 5 units is bifurcated into some of the chapters. According to the chapters, there are total 8 chapters as you can see in the list. The chapter number 1 is banker and customer. This chapter is related to the unit number 1. The complete unit number 1 is covered in chapter number 1. Means if we discuss the chapter number 1, then unit number 1 is over. Then chapter number 2, banker customer special relationship and termination of banker customer relationship. This second and third chapter is related with the unit number 2. Means for the unit number 2 you have to cover these 2 chapters. Then negotiable instrument. The unit number 3 is completely covered in the chapter number 4. Means if you learn the chapter number 4, the unit number 3 which contain the weightage of 20% is over. Then next, electronic banking and IT banking bank. This chapter covers the full unit number 4. For the unit number 4, you have to learn just a single chapter. And the last 3 chapters are related with the unit number 5. Payment banking, ethics and CSR. CSR means corporate social responsibilities in banks. And the last one is the banking ombudsman scheme which was started in the year of 1995. These last 3 chapters are related with the unit number 5. Okay. Now, I hope the introduction, you are familiar with the syllabus that what we are going to learn in this subject. If any doubt, so you can drop the message. on Google Classroom. If you have not joined the Google Classroom, so please join the Google Classroom. The link is shared to you all. If any friend of you left to join the Google Classroom, to tell him or her to join the Google Classroom, as all the information related to the academic year will be given on Google Classroom. Okay, now we are going to start with chapter number 1, banker and customer relationship. This is the short chapter and the very interesting one. If you in this chapter, one short note is there, 2 or 3 short question will be there, and one long question will be there. Means 2 or 3 short question, one short note, and one long question, and the chapter is over. And again, these all things are very IMP from the examination point of view. This chapter is very IMP from the examination point of view. Now let us start with the chapter number 1, banker and customer relationship. Again, I am repeating to remind you that in this chapter, we are going to learn just the general relationship between banker and customer. The special relationship we are going to learn in chapter number 2. Okay, now start with the basic definition of banking. Yes, the first semester of the first year we started with the topic, the definition of bank, the definition of banker, the definition of banking. I hope you all are familiar with this all. Okay. Now, if I ask you what do you mean by bank, what do you mean by banking, or who will call the banker, so I hope you are able to answer because you have learned all this thing in first year. But if you have chosen some other subject like FM or SP, then you are new for this subject. Okay, now according to the section number 5C of the Banking Regulation Act 1949, the banker is a person who undertakes the business of banking. Very simple. The person who is performing the business of banking is called the banker. The next, banking means accepting the deposit from public for the purpose of lending, repayable on demand or otherwise, with withdrawable by check, draft, order, etc. Okay, now just to break this definition into the parts so you are able to understand in a better way. Banking means accepting deposit from public. Means the banker is going to accept your deposit. Okay, what was the purpose to accept the deposit? For the purpose of two things, lending and investing also. Here investing is not written in the definition, but two purposes are there, lending and investing. And repayable on demand and otherwise, and you that deposit that you have deposited with the bank will be repayable to you when two conditions are there. On demand, when you ask the banker to pay. Suppose a person is having a saving account and current account, then you have to ask to pay to customer to banker that I require some amount of money from my account. And how you can ask? Not orally, you have to ask by using some of the instrument, and that instruments are check, draft, order. And you can nowadays you can use the e-banking facilities also. So the word is used here, otherwise or otherwise. What is it mean by this word? This is for the those types of deposit which are not repayable on demand. They are which are repayable after a certain maturity period, like the FD. If you are having an FD account, then that amount will be repayable to you after the maturity period. You cannot ask for money in between that I will just give me 10,000 rupees, I will deposit that amount in day after tomorrow. This is not so. That amount will be repayable to you after a particular time period only. So the definition is very simple and clear. The banking means accepting the deposit from the public. What is the purpose of accepting? For the purpose of lending and investing, which is repayable on demand and otherwise, with using some of the instruments like check, draft, order, and any other things like e-banking and ATM, credit cards, debit card, and all. Now let us start with the meaning of customer. As I said in the introduction part of syllabus, if I ask you what do you mean by customer, then your answer may be if I am having a bank account with the bank. If I am having an account, any types of account, savings account, current account, recurring FD account, if a person is having an account with the bank, then that person will be called the bank customer of the bank. Yeah, generally students replying this answer. Yes, you are right, but according to the Mr. Sir John Piaget, who is the father of banking, the Sir John Piaget said that just to have an account with the bank is not enough. Then what we have to do to call us as a bank customer of a bank? To just read the definition. This definition is given by the Sir John Piaget. This is the definition of customer. To constitute a customer, there must be some recognizable codes of habit of dealing in the nature of regular banking business. Here again I am focusing on the word regular banking business. If you are having an account and you are not operating that account, then you are not called the customer of a bank. The surgeon that says that if you are having an account, then you have to operate your account time by time. In a certain time interval, you should operate your account. Yeah. If you are not operating your account for a longer time period, then you are not a customer of a bank. In that situation, you will call the undesirable customer of your bank, and the banker wants to close your account because every year in the end of the financial year, banker has to close your account. The balance is save. In the next opening year, the banker has to open your account again. In the full financial year, you are not operating your account again. In the end of the account, just the balance is same. So just it will increase the work of the banker. You are not operating your account. You are just open the account in the bank, and it is the ideal one. Yeah, so that idle account is not helpful for banking business and for not helpful for the economy development also. So in that situation, you are not the customer of bank. This definition of Surgeon Paget is also known as the duration theory. In the syllabus, you may find the word duration aspect. Why the word duration is there? Because in this definition, Mr. Surgeon Paget focus on the time interval that you have to operate your account time by time. If you are not operating for a longer time period, then you are not a customer. So here main thing is what? To operate account time by time. Here they focus on the timing aspects. So that's why that definition and that theory is also known as the duration theory of the Sir John Bassett. Yeah, the three things here, there. There must be account. Of course, it is the basic condition that you are having the account. Second thing, you have operating the accounts, and the third thing, your operation of that account must be your habit. Habit means what? कोई भी चीज habit ऐसा कब बोलते हैं? When you are doing that activity after certain intervals, after certain time intervals, then only this activity is your habit. Here, I'm habitual to this. When we are having when we can use the word habit when we are doing some activity on a regular basis. So here Sir John Peasant says that the dealing in your account, the operate your account must be your habit. Yeah, the 3 points are there. First thing, you have to open an account. Second thing, you are operating your account, and third thing, you are operating your account in a regular basis or after a certain time interval. Suppose a person is operating an account in 3-4 years. So the second point is fulfilled, but the third point of the habit is not fulfilled. Clear? The 3 points should be there. This duration theory may ask you as a short note. More content is not given about the duration theory, but if you are able to understand this definition, just break this definition into the three subparts and explain these three subparts in your own words and give the example. Yeah, this is enough for the short note. Next is the types of relationship. As we discussed earlier in the syllabus, there are two types of relationship between the banker and customer. First is the general relationship and the second is the special relationship. Our chapter number 1 is related with the general relationship of the banker and customer. And the second chapter is related with the special relationship between banker and customer. Okay, now for the general relationship, you may find some of the points here. Okay, So start with the first point, debtor creditor relationship. Again, debtor creditor relationship. By doing some of the activity, banker become the debtor and you become the creditor. By doing some of the activity, you become the debtor and banker become the creditor. What are they? When these types of relationship established between the banker and customer. So we all are familiar with the functions of bank, that the any bank is doing these functions of accepting the deposit and granting the loan. These are the basic function of any bank. If the banking organization is there, so their bank is going to accept your money in form of various accounts, and the banker will going to lend you money. Yeah. So as soon as you deposit your money with the bank account, means I have given my money to someone and I am having the right to get it back. So in that case, when deposit, please be very careful. When you deposit the amount in your account, at that time the customer become the creditor and the banker become the debtor of the customer. I hope it is clear. When you deposit the amount in your account, at that time you become the creditor as a customer. Why? Because you are having the right to get your amount back, and the banker become the debtor of you. Why? Because banker has to pay as per your demand. Yeah. Now, as suppose you have taken a loan, at the time of lending the amount to the customer, the banker become the creditor. Why? Because at that time, if loan given to you as a customer, then the banker is having the right to recover the loan amount with interest. Yeah. The person who is having the right to recover the amount is called the creditor. Yes. So here when the banks lend you the money, at that time banker is the creditor and the customer is a debtor of bank. I hope it is clear. Debtor creditor relationship. Here you have to explain the two aspects. First is about the accepting the deposit. Second is about the lending of money. When you deposit the amount, you become the creditor. When you take the loan from the bank, you become the debtor. Clear? Hope it is clear. Don't be confusing debtor and creditor. Sometimes the 2 marks question asked in the examination ki explain the condition when bank become the debtor, explain the condition when bank become the creditor. So if the concept is not clear ना तो students generally गलत आंसर लिख के आ जाते हो या तो opposite लिख के आ जाते situation. Clear? So the concept should be clear कि when you are debtor as a customer and when you are debtor creditor as a customer. If the question is clear, if the concept is clear, so you are no need to learn this topic also. No need to memorize this topic. This is the very practical chapter, and if you are familiar with this word, so you can write by your own also. Just to understand the concept is important. I hope it is clear. Okay. The remaining 5 points we are going to discuss later on. Just let me explain the first point in a better way, because this point may be asked you as a short note also. Okay. With the relation with the first point, there is a difference between the banker customer relationship and the common debtor creditor relationship. Sometimes as we are using the word debtor and creditor, and this word is also used in business purpose. In the business also balance sheet we have to write asset side debtors and the liability side creditors. So what are the difference between that debtor and creditor, and here customer and banker as a debtor and creditor? There are some of the difference. Both are not the same. Here some of the rules are different between these tools. Whether what are they? The first thing is banker is called called a dignified debtor. Banker is a reputed debtor, you can say. Clear? Here to when banker become the debtor, first thing when you deposit your money. Whenever you are depositing the money, there is a no need to check about the liquidity of a bank. आपने कभी ऐसा किया कि सेविंग्स अकाउंट खोलने से पहले भाई बैंक को बताओ आपका बैलेंस कितना है, कितने कस्टमर है, कितने अकाउंट है, what is your how many owners are you having, what is your paid up capital? ऐसा कभी किया? What is your investment plan? Just give me the details of profit. Clear? No, because you are having the trust on banker. Clear? There is a deposit insurance scheme also started by the RBI to protect the interest of depositors. So when you are depositing your money and the banker become the debtor, that banker is a reputed debtor. No need to check the details of bank. Yeah, but generally whenever we are lending the money to some persons, generally we are going to check the financial worthiness of the person, whether the person is able to give back our amount or not. We have to check, and we have to check the financial records, balance sheet and the income statement of that person. But generally when we are depositing our money with the banker, we are not going to check these all things. Clear? So I hope it is clear that banker is called a dignified debtor, a reputed debtor and borrower. The second point, customer is not the secured creditor of the bank. Clear? As generally whenever we are lending our amount to some party, किसी को चाहिए 10 lakh rupees, the person asked me or my friend asked me for 10 lakh rupees, तो सबसे पहले I will ask what will be you give, what will be the asset you will give as security. Clear? तो मुझे 10 लाख रुपए वापस कर देगा, what is the security of it? But generally when we are depositing the same amount in our saving account or FD account, आपने 10 लाख रुपीस का FD लिया और saving account open करा है, will you ask for a security? Of course not. So here when you are depositing your money in your account, you as a customer become the creditor, but you are not the secured creditor. Why? Because no, and not the security, not any asset will be given by bank to you as a security. Here no security is given by bank to you. So you are a creditor, but you are not the secured creditor. Suppose I am having I deposited the rupees 10 lakh rupees in my saving account. So in exchange of that, banker is not going to give me any security of that 10 lakh rupees. The third point is that customers balance at bank is not repayable. अब अभी तो हमने definition में देखा that the just focus on the fifth line of the definition, repayable on demand. Clear? Just keep in mind this word, repayable on demand. Here the sentence is written, customers balance at bank is not repayable. Generally, if we whenever we lend money to some persons, the time period is already fixed to give it back. Clear? किसी friend को पैसे दिए 5 लाख रुपए, तो बोल दिया भाई 2 महीने बाद वापस कर देना. The time period is predetermined, and after the 2 months, whether you ask for money or not, the debtor is having the responsibility to give your money back. Suppose मैं पैसे देके भूल गई, 2 महीने बाद the customer is having the responsibility, my debtor is having the responsibility to give the amount back to me. Clear? I can claim afterwards also. वो ऐसा नहीं बोल सकता भाई आपने तो मांगे ही नहीं तो मैं क्यों दूँ. No, the debtor is having the responsibility to give the money back. But in case of banker, when banker is our debtor, when we deposit our amount in the bank account, banker become the debtor. Then banker will give the amount back to us only and only when we demand. If we don't demand, the banker will not give any amount to us. So it is called the not repayable. Am I clear? If I am having 10 lakh rupees in my savings account, so I have to ask for withdrawal by using different instruments like check and drafts et extra. Yeah, if I am not asking for withdrawal, the banker is not going to come at my home to pay my amount. Are you able to understand? This is very practical topic. Next is the banker should pay the deposit money on demand by the customer. It is compulsory that first thing the money should be demanded. If it is not demanded, then banker is not going to give. Second thing, the demand must be by customer only. If my suppose I am having an account with my name and my father is going to ask for a withdrawal by using his sign, so the person is not able to withdraw the amount because I am the owner of the account, and the second party, whether it is a blood relationship, even though the person is not able to withdraw the amount. So first thing, the demand should be there, and second thing, the demand should be by customer only. But in case of general creditor and debtor relationship, suppose I have given rupees 5 lakh to my friends. Clear? after that time given to him to repay, I may ask that just pay 5 lakh rupees to some person. I am sending him to collect the amount. So I can, so in behalf of me, some other person also having the right to collect the amount. Yeah, my family members is also having the right to collect the amount in case of general debtor and creditor relationship. But in case of banker, only I as a customer can ask for money. Next, the deposit should be paid at an appropriate place. Clear? Okay. As we discussed, the banker has to accept the deposit. अब मैं उसको बोलूँ उसे घर जाके भाई तू पैसे ले ले, तो क्या वो मेरे अकाउंट में जमा करेगा? Of course not. It should be a appropriate place, and the appropriate place means the bank and the bank branch. Clear? अगर रास्ते में कोई banker person मिल गया, हमें पता है that person is working in the SBI bank, तो हम उसे वहाँ पे check दे दे भाई तू कल जब बैंक गया तो डाल देना. Is it so? No. At that time the banker is not having any responsibility to accept my check, whether the person is the employee of the bank or not. Yeah, it is a different thing. If the employee is our friend, so we are giving the check to our friends, jab kal jaye to dal dena. It is a different matter, but this is not the responsibility of that person to accept. The person may deny also. Yeah, so the deposit should be paid at an appropriate place only. Yeah, if the debtor is customer, sorry, bank. If the debtor is bank, then the deposit should be paid at a appropriate place. But in case of general debtor and creditor relationship, we can give the amount to someone at our place. Clear? जहाँ पे भी मुझे मन करे, I can ask him to come to pay the amount. The demand should be made by the customer on working days and during the working hours only. As we discussed earlier that we have to ask for money from our account. जब तक हम अपने account में से नहीं मांगेंगे, the banker is not going to give us the money. But that demand should be in working days and working hours only. Yeah, in case of physical instrument, e-banking is a different thing. In case of physical instruments of the withdrawal of money, we can use that instrument. We can ask for demand of money from our account in working days and in working hours only from banker as a debtor or creditor. But in case of general debtor creditor relationship, we can ask our debtor to pay the amount of at any time, या आफ्टर द टाइम गिवन टू हिम. उसे 2 महीने का टाइम दिया था, तो उसके बाद मैं उसे सुबह शाम रात कभी भी पैसे बोलूं, द डेटर इज हैविंग द राइट, हैविंग द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू गिव माय मनी बैक. There is no limitation of working days and working hours in case of common debtor creditor relationship, but of course these are the limitation in case of the banker customer relationship. Next, the demand must be in a proper form. Are you able to the proper form? Suppose I want to withdraw my amount from my saving account, then I can use a check, but that check should be properly written according to the rules and regulation to fill the check. मतलब कोई भी information आपने गलत भरी या wrong भरी, then banker is not having the responsibility. आप ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते भाई मेरे account में से ही मांग रहा हूँ तो दे दो. That demand should be in proper form, or you cannot ask money orally also. ऐसा नहीं कि आप अपने ही account में से मांग रहे हो तो आप जैसे चाहो वैसा मांगो. There should be a proper form. You have to follow some of the rules and regulation. But in case of common debtor creditor relationship, you may ask the money while using mail. You may ask on call as per your wish. You can ask the money from your debtor. But if the debtor is a banker, then certain rules and regulation you have to follow. So this is some of the points of the difference between the banker and customer as a debtor and creditor and general debtor and creditor. Yeah? The relationship between both the parties are same, debtor and creditor. But when the debtor and creditor are banker and customer, some of the rules and regulation are different. This question may ask sometime in the UNSG examination as a short note. So at that time, what you have to do, just make these points as a heading and explain in your own words, because this is a very simple topic. If you understood the concept, then you can write some of the sentence in your own words also. The next general relationship which left 5 points are there, we are going to discuss in next lecture. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.